Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Mountain Harmony Gardening. I'm Kristen, and today we're going to be talking about companion plants. First off, what is companion planting? Companion planting is planting different types of plants near each other to produce a beneficial effect. There are many different ways that companion plants can help each other. And some of the ways are they can increase soil nutrients, they can kind of ward off the bad bugs, they can also bring in beneficial insects such as bees, and they can help as weed control when you plant them like a ground cover. There are so many different ways that you can use companion plants, and now I'm going to tell you about a few different ways that I use companion planting. The first plant that we're going to be talking about is tomatoes. And tomatoes are my favorite plant to grow in the garden. From the little tiny spoon tomatoes, the black cherry tomatoes I have to have every year, and also a bunch of different varieties in between. Now, the first companion plant that I plant is basil with my tomatoes. Not only do they taste good together when you're cooking, they also have beneficial effects. So the basil has a very strong scent, and it keeps away mosquitoes, flies, and the tomato hornworm. But not only that, it also improves the flavor of the tomatoes and their growth. And they are great to grow right underneath. As the tomatoes get taller and you prune up the leaves, then the basil has room to grow. Another one is chives. Chives also have a strong scent, but they also help with the health and flavor of the tomatoes, and you can plant those easily underneath your tomatoes too. Now, there are a couple other plants that I always plant with them as well for their scent, and those are marigolds and onions. So a bunch of these can be planted underneath, and you can kind of, make a pretty pattern and kind of disperse them throughout underneath. And also nasturtiums are a trap plant. And what that means is that some of the bad bugs prefer the nasturtiums over the tomatoes. And I always do this with my tomato plants. The next plant we're talking about are cucumbers. This is something that I always have to have in my garden because I really enjoy cucumbers. Plus, they're really good for you too. So one plant that you can plant underneath them is the radish. And radishes get going quick, and if you let some of them flower, they will help attract hoverflies, which eat aphids. And also, the radishes deter the cucumber beetles, and we definitely don't want those. Another plant that you can plant with them is dill. And dill has umbel flowers on it, and that helps lure in predatory bugs that eat all those other bad bugs. Nasturtiums, which I love my nasturtiums, also help with the growth and they improve the flavor. So a benefit of a beautiful flower that traps insects, and it helps with the cucumber. Another one is marigolds. And assassin bugs actually like to live in the marigolds, and they will eat the squash bugs. So there are several different plants that you can plant underneath your cucumbers and around them that will help with them. I just planted my peppers and they're already up, and these are the next plant that we're going to talk about. You know how much we love to grow peppers. It's mostly for Tommy. He really likes hot peppers. So peppers really don't have a whole lot of pests, but they do have some companions that they can grow alongside. So like cucumbers are a good one. Eggplants, I have planted my eggplants and my peppers together in the past. Tomatoes, I've also planted my peppers right next to my tomatoes. Okra, I didn't know about the okra and the pepper companion planting, but next time I grow okra, I'll definitely try it. Swiss chard and squash are another couple. And some herbs that you can grow in with these are basil, which I've done as well because they were in with the tomatoes, so the basil was there too, and they did really, really well that year. Oregano is another good one, parsley, rosemary, and one plant that I always plant in with my peppers are marigolds. And it seems like the marigolds and the peppers love each other, and they do really good. They both grow really well. So you want to have some more umbel flowers. Some more options would be like cosmos, zinnia, yarrow. And my yarrow's up too, so I've got some yarrow that I'm going to be planting this year. but pretty much they don't have a whole lot. And if you do see like some pests, you can also do alyssum, and they will attract those parasitic wasps that take care of a lot of pests. Something new that I'm trying this year is broccoli. And we're going to be talking about broccoli and brassicas. So they usually have a pest that I do not want in my yard, but since we have ants, we also have aphids, because ants like to farm the aphids. So we end up with them, but I'm definitely going to be doing some companion planting to try to help with that. Also, they get cabbage worms too. So here are some plants that can kind of help with that. So sweet alyssum attracts hoverflies, which eats the aphids. So I'm definitely going to be planting some of that. Calendula is a trap flower that you can plant that'll kind of draw everything else away from the ones that you actually want. Dill, of course, because it's an umbel flower for parasitic wasps, and they take care of a lot of stuff. And then chamomile and mint, since they are aromatic plants, they deter the cabbage worm. So definitely try some of those with your brassicas. Now we're going to be talking about corn. I haven't grown corn in several years because every time I try to grow it, it ends up with a ton of earwigs in it. And so I've kind of stopped growing it because of that. But I did some research when I was getting ready for this video, and it said that garlic, if you plant that with your corn, kind of helps deter the earwigs, and also alyssum and dill. I'm sure that's because it attracts beneficial bugs into your garden, and I will have to try that if I'm going to grow corn. Also, you can get the corn earworm, and sunflowers attract hoverflies, and you can't think of anything that's out summer, as I read in the companion planting book that I'm going to be telling you about it, that says those two things together. It's really awesome seeing sunflowers poking up, you know, with some corn, and I can grow some really large sunflowers here, provided the squirrels, landries, don't eat them. So I am going to try some of those techniques myself. Some of my lettuces last year came up on their own, and this is a new variety that I'm going to be trying this year. I really wanted to try a red lettuce. So they grow really well with beets, beans, cabbages, carrots, cucumbers, onions, radishes, and strawberries. Those are a lot of different things that these go with. And a lot of those is you can plant lettuce, and then you can plant some of the ones like your carrots and your beets on the other side, and you'll have your harvest of your lettuce, and while your carrots and your beets are still small. So they're good companion plants to plant together. So they can get aphids, and you want to plant sweet alyssum for that, because that'll take care of that. They also get flea beetles, and you want to plant radishes because they're kind of like a trap crop. They'll go to those instead. And then for cutworms, you want to plant dill because you want to bring in the parasitic wasps or the hoverflies, and they'll take care of those. And luckily, I haven't had too many problems, but last year I did do the cucumber lettuce kind of companion because the lettuce came up on its own, and that happened to be where I was planting my cucumbers, and they both did well. The next plant we're talking about is squash, and I love squash. I always have pumpkins and my spaghetti squash growing in our garden, or other types of squash plants. So I definitely don't want pests getting to these because I really prize our pumpkins. And pumpkins are part of the three sisters, which are squash, corn, and beans. So you can plant the squash at the bottom, and they'll grow through the corn, and they'll act as like a ground cover to help with weeds and moisture. And then the beans will grow up the corn, and then they'll be nitrogen fixing. So they'll be awesome to grow. I haven't tried that yet, but I'd really like to. Another thing that you could do is you can grow radishes, marigolds, nasturtiums, and those help deter the squash bugs, and we definitely don't want those in our garden. Another good plant is oregano. Oregano is kind of like a general protection, and it's because of its strong scent. Also, any sort of umbel flower like dill, parsley, carrots, if you let them go to flower, are really good because they'll attract parasitic wasps, and those will help with the squash vine borer and also with the squash bugs too. So those are some good plants to plant with your squash plants. This last plant that we're going to be talking about is potatoes, and I have not decided yet if I'm going to grow them or not. I kind of want to. I've already seen the sets in the stores, and I've been thinking I might try them and do them in a grow bag. But one of the companion plants for this is horseradish. And I've grown horseradish before, and it's really fun to grow. But it has such a strong scent that that's what helps deter some of the pests. Also, alyssum, daisies, dill, those are all good to bring in different types of beneficial pests that will help with or beneficial bugs. They'll help with the pest, the Colorado potato bug. And I think I've actually seen those in our area, but I haven't seen very many of them. Also, carrots, beans, marigolds, petunias, and onions are all wonderful plants that you can plant with your potatoes to kind of deter the pests that they kind of get stuck with. What I want you guys to get out of this video is to plant a variety of companion plants. And if you've seen my other videos during the summertime and during the fall, you'll definitely see that I love to plant a variety of plants and not just monocrop in one area. I plant all different kinds of plants all over the garden. So like the chives, the oregano, the rosemary, the parsley, the dill, the basil, I plant all of that in my garden. For the flowers, the marigolds, the nasturtiums, the chamomile, the yarrow, the alyssum, the petunias, the cosmos, I also plant all of those in my yard too. And then like radishes and onions and chives, I plant all of that as well. And I spread all of that around different areas of my garden so that I can bring in the beneficial bugs to all of my garden. So I'm actually going to be doing a second part to this video next week, and it will be on what you do not want to plant around all of your plants that I talked about today. Because there's certain plants that you do not want to plant next to each other because they either attract the type of bug that you don't want there, or they just don't do well together and they could both get the same types of diseases too. So I want to break this into 2 videos for you guys so they're not quite as long, so you can look forward to that next week. The last thing I wanted to tell you guys is about a book from Brian from Next Level Gardening. I will leave a link to where you can purchase this book, plus his awesome YouTube channel that I absolutely adore. I know I've talked about this before, but this book is amazing. It's based on science instead of like old wives' tales that marigolds do everything. They don't. They do help, and I do love planting them around the yard. But this book is amazing, and I want you guys to check it out if you'd like to learn more about companion planting. I learned about companion planting probably about 14 years ago from a friend, and she made copies out of several different books that she had for me, and I had used those as resources over the years, and this is a good book to round out all that information that I've gotten. So definitely pick this book up. I hope all of you enjoyed the video and learned something. I know I did when I was doing the research for this, such as earwigs. I did not know that horseradish was a deterrent for earwigs. I'm going to definitely be planting some in my yard to keep all the earwigs out. They can be beneficial, like they eat aphids, but when you have too many, then it's an infestation. So thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share, and comment. I love to read all of your guys' comments. It's awesome. And I love to see that the community is growing and we can share a lot of information with each other too. Because I don't know everything. And so I love it when you guys comment. So thanks for watching again, and happy gardening.